take you along with me as I make this lovely dangle for my Christmas journal and share with you a few of the techniques that I have used. The first one is using pull tabs to make dangles. The first thing I did was collect some pull tabs from different cans that I had around the house. It can be soda cans, it can be tuna cans, whatever you have. And because my journal is a bit more vintagey, I decided to try a few different ways of grunging up these plain silver ones. So the first thing I did was try and use some of my gold gold ink, and it didn't work so well. The surface wasn't primed. It kind of pooled and puddled around, but it did kind of give me a base. And the next thing that I used was my handy dandy rub and buff, which was a far more successful option. So what I did was I just rubbed some of the rub and buff on the different pull tabs to age them up a little bit, and then I set them aside to dry fully. While everything was drying, I gathered all the other bits that I wanted to use to make the decorations on the pull tabs, including papers, fabric, etc. I also got some jump rings and some charms that I wanted to add to those few tabs where the inner ring on the top was left. So here I've just decided to work on one of the fabric ones, and I'm fiddling around with the placement of it and deciding the size of the fabric that I'm going to need. But before I glue the fabric on, I want to add a little charm to this one. So I just got my jump ring and the charm, and I am just adding it to the little loopy bit on the top before I do any gluing. After the jump ring was all sorted and the dangle was on, I used my E6000 equivalent to run some glue all the way around the entire back of the pull tab. And then I just added the fabric and pressed it on really, really well. And I set it aside to dry fully before fiddling with it. I left everything for about an hour and a half maybe, before I moved on to the next step. So here I'm just looking at other ideas, things to use as background. I'm just looking at the cover of my scrapbook pad and at the scrapbook papers that I had, the festive Christmassy ones, and I chose one that I thought went well with the rest of the theme. So here again, because I'm not adding a dangle to it, I just went straight around with the glue and attached it to the paper. And in this case, I also wanted to add a little sticker diamond thing, so I've chosen the size that works, and just to make sure it stays on, I've also added some of the E6000 to it and pressed it into its place. When everything was dry, I added a layer of nail polish, clear nail polish, to the design in the center of the tabs. This not only adds some kind of shimmer to it, but it also protects it, especially if it's made of paper. I added 2 coats in the end. I mean, if you have resin, you could use that, but again, I'm all about using what you've got already, so clear nail polish it was in my case. Once I had everything coated, I just left it to dry and then moved on to the next step. Once the nail polish was dry, I decided to trim everything. So I just took the scissors and I trimmed around the edge of the entire tab, leaving the full thing behind. And this one, especially the fabric one, I decided also to back it again with another piece of paper. This not only adds a bit more strength to it, but also decorates the other side because if you're using it as a dangle, for example, it might flip over and whatnot, and it's good if both sides are decorated. So all I did was I found a piece of paper that I liked to use on the back of it, and I just glued it down onto the paper using regular PVA because I'm just attaching paper to paper or paper to fabric. And once it was dry, I cut it again to the same size and I inked the back a little bit just to give it some more of a vintagey look. And that is the tabs finished. I hope that you've enjoyed these ones. Now we're going to move on to the next one. Now we're going to make a charm using a bottle cap, a metal bottle cap. I have this lovely little Santa button thing that I was sent in a Happy Mail, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, but then I realized that it would fit fabulously inside a metal bottle cap. So what I am going to do first of all is get rid of that plastic that's inside it because one, it's ugly, and two, it won't stick as well as it should. So this is fairly easy. I just used my awl to get rid of it and lift it a bit until I could grab it and pull it. If you have like a hot blow dryer, it would probably make it a lot easier and faster than. The next thing I decided to do was to hide the brand of the beer with my handy dandy rub and buff combo. I decided to do both the back and the inside, just the edge of the inside of the bottle cap with my rub and buff. I just added it, dabbed it on with a paintbrush, let it dry, and then added a little bit of the darker one. So this is the dried and final result. Now, because I want to turn it into a dangle, before I glue in my little Santa, I want to punch a hole through the edge of the cap. I've just used my awl for this. It's not such thick metal that you can't go through it. You just need a little bit of strength. And because I know I want to have something a bit wider, I did push it a little bit further. Then it's time to just glue in my little charm piece, my little Santa. Here I decided to use my bow stick rather than the E6000. In the end, it's all super glue, isn't it? So I just used the tweezers to make sure I positioned it in the right spot in the middle, and I very carefully set it aside and left it to dry for a good few hours. Now it's time to put it all together. Here I have gathered a bunch of other little bits that I'm going to use to make the dangle. And I'm going to make it a dangle that can be easily removed. I'm putting it on a bulldog clip. The only bulldog clip that I have left is silver, and of course that didn't match anything, so out came the rub and buff, which I seem to have used a lot in this journal. And I just dabbed a little bit on to make it look a little bit more vintagey and match with the rest of the journal. I've also pulled out some ribbons. The green ribbon is the original bookmark from the book that I used as the base. And I'm just tying them together with this little reddish ribbon here to create a tiny little tassel that's going to be the base of my dangle. I also have a chain, a piece of broken jewelry that I save everything for, and here I realized that I probably should have put the chain in with the ribbon, first. So I grabbed my old specs to see what I was doing, and I came up with a different option. I added a small jump ring to the chain, more or less in the middle. And then I got one of the larger jump rings that I had, unfortunately silver, and I didn't feel like rubbing buffing all the jump rings, but I got the chain that, sorry, the silver jump ring that I had, and I used it to add the lobster claw onto the ribbon tassel. And then, having the lobster claw on the tassel with a jump ring of its own, I just attached the two jump rings together to add the chain to the ribbon tassel. Now that I have the base done, it's time to add all the nice fun bits. This is an old earring that I found again in a charity shop find. I liked the color and thought it suited the the charm well. I just removed the earring bit and added a jump ring, adding it to my chain. Here I am adding my bottle cap. I added a large silver ring first, and then now I'm adding a smaller gold jump ring to attach it to the chain in the spot where I want it near the top. I added that, I grabbed this tiny little bell that I had. I have no idea where I got it from, but I found it in my stash. Again, added a little jump ring on it and attached it to the end of the chain. The next little bit I added was another piece of broken jewelry. I think it was a pendant or could have been a piece of earring. Whatever it was, it's pretty. I liked the colors and I felt that it matched the spine quite well. Here I'm just adjusting and fiddling with the tassel to see how it works, adding it to the clip and just testing it on the back of the book. So far, I am absolutely loving it. And here I realized that I still needed to add my little tab. So again, little jump ring on there to attach the tab to the chain and therefore complete my little dangle. I really hope that you enjoyed this video today and are liking how the journal is coming along. I'm quite pleased with it myself, I won't lie. I absolutely love how this little dangle came out. It's so fun to play with. It makes a little jingly sound, and I have lots of space to add any other little Christmas dangly bits that I might find in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments. In the meantime, happy crafting, everybody.